Because it is a conversation and a viewing and a presentation with Alabama Interfaith Power and Light. And we are an interfaith organization. If it's okay with you all, I'd like to open up with prayer. Let us pray. Eternal One, who is our helper and our keeper, you who are still and always have been our barometer for justice, we ask that you would move in this moment right now that we're in. Move on our hearts, the things that we might see and hear, those who can be of help, those who can influence, move on their hearts that they might be of help and influence. And we thank you now for all things. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, listen, I am so glad that you all are here with us. I will tell you that we had over 50 people that have signed up to be here this evening. I'm Michael Malcolm. I am the founder and executive director of the People's Justice Council, as well as the executive director of Alabama Interfaith Power and Light. I've got a couple of my team members on the call with me as well. And Kyle Kreider and Abigail Frankson. I'll let them introduce themselves and then I'll come back and set us up for the film viewing.
Thank you, Rev. We also don't want to forget Adrienne. Is Adrienne still? Yeah.
I'm sorry, Adrienne, I didn't see you.
Adrienne, you go first.
Okay, I'm Adrienne. I am the executive assistant for Reverend Michael Malcolm and the People's Justice Council and ALIPO. I live here in Atlanta, and I'm just happy to be here this evening.
Thank you,
go ahead,
Adrienne.
Kyle.
Thank you, Adrienne. And I'm Kyle. I'm the program and policy director for both PJC, People's Justice Council, and ALIPL, Alabama Interfaith Power and Light. To you, Abigail.
All right. Hey, y'all. I'm Abigail Franks. I am the programs coordinator and outreach coordinator for People's Justice Council and Alabama Interfaith Power and Light. Thank y'all. So glad to be here.
So we had an opportunity to show, we were given a list to show a few different films. And when we saw Uniontown, we immediately went to Uniontown because we are Alabama Interfaith Power and Light, and Uniontown is in Alabama. However, because I don't represent Uniontown, I don't live in Uniontown, I thought it would be robbery not to bring our community, our Uniontown community, into the conversation. And we also have with us the creator and director of Uniontown, the Uniontown film, Mr. Fraser Jones. And we've got the new commissioner, right? Am I right, Mr. Eden? New commissioner?
Well, 2.5 years in now.
Okay, 2.5-year-old commissioner. As well as Uniontown resident, Mr. Benjamin Eaton. And after we view the film, they'll come and they'll speak with us. Hopefully, Mr. Eden will be able to provide for us some information that we can then follow up directly with the community. One of the things that Alabama Interfaith Power and Light never wants to do is misrepresent who we are. We want to make sure that we are a bridge that bridges others with the communities directly so that they can be able to help communities. So we hope to hear from Mr. Eaton and Mr. Fraser and enjoy ourselves hearing from them. But in the meantime, if you would bear with us, we want to show this film for Uniontown. It's a 15-minute film, but I listen, my heart was moved, but I also found myself smiling in the end. And I'm hoping that you'll do the same, not because of what they're going through, but because of their resiliency and their joy in doing so. Bear with me.
Some will
Are you all able to hear that?
With the trouble of this world, trouble of this world, trouble of this world, soon will be done. With the trouble of this world, I'm going home to live with the Lord.
What makes Uniontown beautiful is people in love and standing in unity. This is where my ancestors at. This is where my daddy spent his money at. This is where I'm gonna stay.
You ready for the throw it?
Okay,
But I'm gonna let you swing it.
I'm fishing with my sister Mary. Having fun to kind of catch fish, showing love. Come here, fishy, fishy. Lord, she got a big one. Oh, Lord, that's a big one.
I wanted to come here because I lived in the city all my life, and I wanted to move somewhere where it was quiet and peaceful and free air and just quietness, peace.
I decided, this would be the place for me to get away from it all.
It's not what I thought it was gonna be. We living in a dump, like a city dump, like everything is just polluted and everything's going on. You're like the smell from the fish plant, the smell from the cheese plant, the smell from the landfill. It's like we living in a big hole, like just a cesspool. We're down in the bottom of the hole and can't nobody see us.
You see all that water? That is contaminated water, and it comes from the cheese plant, and it has no place to go and run across my property. Now, I have lost several cows. When I say several, maybe about 8 or 10. And they just die, and you don't know why they die. I don't usually lose any cattle. I'm only losing cattle here.
You slaughter cows, you make hamburgers, steaks, and all this other different stuff. And guess what? If they infected with some of this stuff, you gonna eat some. We need something that will treat our sewage, because until this is done, nothing's gonna change. There's no economics, there's no money coming into town. Every city deserves to be functional. And right now, we're not functional.
Our property value is dirt cheap. You can't sell the property. And we need some help here, and I don't know where we're gonna get it from.
I think any place can grow, but it's not gonna happen with one person or just 6 people. It's gonna take a whole community to do that.
And we'd like to thank each and every one of y'all for coming. That's all we need to just sit and talk, and then you learn much more. As long as I got my Black Bill citizens beside me, I'll never feel lonely, because they're like family to me. And I love people, and that's what my group do. They love people, and we're gonna stand for what's right. And we ain't going nowhere. Say it big.
Don't we intend to. Failure is not an option. Come on in the junk house. Building is sort of like freedom. I just enjoy it. But you can't really enjoy it anymore because there's always something wrong. Having this issue here in Uniontown with the sewage and the smell kind of take everything else away. In the last 16 years or so, the leadership has been to a point where it has not done a whole lot for the community. So I'm asking, what is the council's plan to address that issue? My issues are talking about the sewage problem, they don't want to hear because they are not doing what officials supposed to do.
If you want to get on the agenda, you need to let Ms. Madoff know before 12 o'clock on a Friday.
I met that. Right. Last night was the 5th time that they ignored me.
Well, I'm asking the council, what are they gonna do?
Our city officials are not handling business. They're allowing things to pass over. If you're in the position to lead, lead. And if you can't lead, get out of the way.
Won't it be grand? Won't it be grand? Won't it be grand? Oh, won't it be grand? I'm going home to live with thee.
God put man on earth to take care of earth, not to destroy earth, but what are we doing? We got to get our town back, man. We got to fight, not with hands. We got to continue to talk. Things don't change if we're not changing it together. And together we can make it happen.
I'm running for Perry County Commissioner, District 5. The role entailed for the county commissioner, they're the ones that handles the money, the budget, the hiring for the county. It won't see any more neglection. It won't have anyone to disappear on them. They have someone that actually care about them.
Just experimenting with the garden in the backyard. Carrots, mustard greens, turnip greens, and this is a pea that I got from my mom's. I noticed it looks a little rough now. I haven't had time to do it. Clean around it because, you know, actually black belt citizens work takes a lot of time and family takes a lot of time. You scared? Nasiah was only coming up to be 1 when I got him.
Come on.
He didn't grow in my belly, but he grew in my heart.
Oh, come over here, man. I'm gonna break your ankle now.
I'm hoping things get better for him because right now, they don't have a bright future here. But we're not gonna stop until things get better.
This is the future. We'll have decent schools and hospitals and a pool for kids to go out in the summer. We'll have Walmart, Burger King. Oh yeah, I forgot the library too, because gotta learn.
Oh yeah. Y'all are our future. And if y'all fail, the future is gone, because we're gonna die off earth. People don't understand it. The kids are our future. Most white people, they leave things for their kids. And black people want to do the same thing. They want to leave things for their kids. They don't want to dump. This is nothing to give their kids.
There were 4 million tons of coal ash that were sent here from Kingston, Tennessee.
People's health has changed since coal ash came into Uniontown.
You got breathing problems, sleep apnea, all the liver problems that we have here, all the people that are on dialysis. Why is it happening?
Found out I had arthritis in my leg and arthritis in my back, and I got acid reflux, and it's just all kind of stuff done happened to me since I've been here.
Right now, 3 people that live right across the street from the landfill have passed away.
I mean, a landfill in front of your house, right when you walk out your door? I mean, who does that?
People don't like landfills. Nobody likes a landfill in their backyard. I mean, that's, I think, evident. And for people to voice that, certainly they've got a right to do that. The thing that we do not believe people have a right to do is to say that you are intentionally poisoning the streams, that you are intentionally poisoning our groundwater. And it was only when they made those claims that even letters were written asking them to retract.
They slapped a lawsuit on us for $30 million. It was from what they call slander.
The $30 million, I think, has been, it actually was 15. There were 2 counts, but they each contained 15. And that was what we felt the lost business opportunity was for us as a result of the adverse publicity that was being put out.
Only thing we was doing was freedom of speech, trying to protect our community. Won't you try to protect your community? A lot of these areas that these dumps come in is Black communities, poor communities, uneducated communities, communities that they think can't fight back. But if you don't do nothing, they're gonna continue to keep dumping. They're gonna continue to try to destroy our property. In rich white areas, this stuff don't go on. Why are we the one that suffer? God didn't create us like that. God created us all equal. There's no reason we can't have equal rights. We deserve to have clean water. We deserve to have clean air. We deserve to enjoy our everyday life. It's about living free. We live right here in America. Are we really free? Are we really free? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Oh God, guess my heart is beating too fast.
Yes, you got high blood pressure.
Am I gonna live, Doc?
We don't know yet.
I really am?
We gotta check your temperature.
Just tell me I need to lose weight or something.
You need to lose weight.
Okay, I will. I'll work on it. I'll take a lot of exercise.
And happy birthday.
Thank you. Well, today is a great day for y'all, and I love all y'all that's here and all y'all that's celebrating my birthday. To let y'all let me know that y'all love me, and I really appreciate that.
I'm gonna let Mama Elsa finish lighting. This day is her birthday. I'm Mama Elsa.
Hold it now.
Yeah, today is
Mama Elsa
my
got
day. My wish supposed to come true, right?
Election day. Gotta get Ben Eden in there. District 5, County Commissioner.
I don't like being a loser. Whatever I do, I just don't like to lose.
Vote or die.
Good morning.
Come on, vote.
Everybody. So we gonna do our thing for you today, Mr. E.
There you go. That's
Get it done.
Today can impact the rest of your life, so it's best to make the best choice today.
Black lives matter, black votes matter.
Black voters matter because back in the 50s, we didn't have that right. Now we have a right to vote. This is a way you can have your voice heard. Vote or die. Vote or die.
You heard me. Hey, Catalina. You voted today.
We might be happy. We might celebrate and throw a big old party. Yes, we is.
It's about who?
It's about us.
We'll see here in a minute. There's final results.
I'm gonna do my God when I get through with this week, because this is so depressing and stressing.
We had a wonderful victory.
I give it back to the people. They spoke out and they said, you know, enough is enough. You know, I know overnight he can't do it because there are a lot of issues, but I believe that Ben Eden is the man that's gonna stand up and say, I'm here to serve the people.
I will take what they see and what they hear, and I'll be their voice. Yeah, it's beginning. It's beginning.
We might be where we are now, but it takes just a little bit of hope. It's not about Esther. It's about us. It's about love. We can do it together. We can get Uniontown back popping. You should love to say, look what Uniontown doing. Look how we're growing. Look how the peoples are. They're smiling. If you keep being persistent, you keep doing what you're doing, the change is gonna come. You just got to keep pressing on. We just gonna keep doing what we're doing.
You're on mute, Rev.
Thank you. I certainly hope that you all enjoyed that. However, I think we can take it up even higher. We have the film creator as well as one of the stars of the film, Mr. Benjamin Eden and Mr. Fraser Jones with us. And I want to bring them up now and just have them to come and present themselves. Mr. Fraser Jones, if you would just talk about the making of the film and your interaction with the community. And then Mr. Eden, let us celebrate you and that historic victory that you had that was led by community members and appreciated upon you by community members. And I enjoyed thoroughly what you said, and that the people will never feel abandoned again because you sit in the seat of influence. And I appreciate that. So if you would just talk about your position and in your community, as well as looking at that was 2 years ago, where are you all today? But let's start with Mr. Fraser Jones first. And Mr. Fraser, if you could just tell us about the film and your interaction with the community.
Absolutely, yeah. This film started a few years ago now, I think in early 2017. I had heard about the story of the Black Belt citizens, as well as the sadder story of coal ash coming into Uniontown as the first kind of news that I was hearing about Uniontown. But there was this group that I had found on YouTube that was fighting against it and not taking no for an answer, and just going up against lawsuits and all these things that seemed impossible, but just continuing to fight. So that's what made me reach out to the Black Belt citizens and say, if there's any need for a video or a documentary to get this story out even further, I'm there as soon as I can be. So I showed up after a couple months of talking and just started meeting people and going to church and having meals and just getting to know the larger story. And there was so much I didn't know coming in, and still so much I learn every time I talk with folks from Uniontown. I'm definitely an outsider, but just felt so welcomed by the community, and just said that I'm here to tell the story as honestly as possible. And it was about 9 months of filming, pretty on and off. And then eventually we didn't know what the film would become, but once we followed Mr. Eaton's election and had this victory, I thought that's just the best way it could end, is just this positive, affirming moment that not everything's perfect, but a change is coming, and it's led by the great man we have here, Mr. Eaton.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Fraser. Mr. Eden.
Yes, sir.
How was it to get that huge victory, and how was it having your community rally around you? And even more, that was 2 years ago. Where are you today?
Well, first of all, the victory was amazing, and it felt good to know that you had people who would rally and support you in what you are all about, what you've been fighting for all along. As far as the where we are today, we're still fighting. One of the problems that we have right now is that three of the commissioners that were responsible for most of the problems that are going on here today are still on board. So as far as making resolutions to have change, to make change, it's difficult right now. But I am patient, and I say be patient, and sooner or later something will break. We'll get someone to have a change of heart. If not that, we'll have them voted out and replaced.
All right. Listen, I love that resolve. One, because of the community involvement. The community understands the power of their voice and that they can make changes. But secondly, I love that resolve because you understand that people can get fired, and the community can rally to make sure that those who aren't protecting community don't have that position anymore and can't make that call anymore. So we definitely appreciate it. Mr. Ben, can you tell me and the audience something about coal ash? I heard a lot about coal ash and coal ash being dumped in your community. Now, as a person that's in this movement, of course I know, but for those who don't know, can you tell us about coal ash and the harms of it?
I can do my best from what I know. You know, coal ash, I weren't that familiar with coal ash until the Kingston, Tennessee problem when they decided to bring all the 4 million tons of coal ash here in Uniontown. We started learning that a lot of the elements that are in coal ash are toxic and they are harmful to your health. By them saying that our environment is perfect for storing coal ash, nothing is perfect when your health is at risk. Coal ash have arsenic, lead. If you name chromium, if you name some of the most toxic elements, it will be in coal ash. It's I won't say a byproduct, but it's a waste of coal for providing energy for Alabama Power, if not other energy companies. So I know it's important, but this is one of the reasons why we need to get busy about changing and finding other ways to generate power, to generate energy for people to live without the harmful effect afterward.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I'm so glad that you brought that up. It is a byproduct, but I want to say it a little bit more frank and harsher. They in effect shipped 4 million tons, didn't you say?
Correct.
4 million tons of poison into your community.
Yes, sir.
There's no other way to put that. It's poison. It's poison. A big 4 million ton pile of poison was dumped in your community.
That's right. And
go ahead.
No, I was about to say when you're speaking 4 million tons, to give you a general idea of about how much is that spread it out in the rural area. A lot of people think, well, this is the country and no one lives there and it have plenty of room to dump it. Well, Uniontown, in the Uniontown area, there is no hills or mountains, but 4 miles away, you can see this hill or mountain of coal ash. So that gives you a general idea how much coal ash is really consumed there in that landfill. And not to mention that it's in the backyard of a community. When I say in the backyard, I mean, throwing a rock distance close. Is close.
Yeah. We know all too well here in Birmingham, in the northern part of Birmingham, there are communities that are suffering now with coal ash being an issue in their communities. They've dug up toxic yards out of this Superfund site and really literally put it across the street over in an abandoned school yard, and it sits there uncovered and everything else. So when the wind blows, what happens? You know what I mean?
That's right.
and looking at the film, listening at this young man who's talking about his cows all of a sudden are just starting to die. But then the sister comes up and says, listen, the hamburgers we eat them off of those cows. So whatever in them coming in us.
That's right.
And we wonder why our lifespan in our communities aren't as lengthy, and our kids' well-being in this safe and in this fortunate. And it's often because of the things that are in our environment. Mr.
Yes.
Fraser, when you were filming, what did you observe of the community and the surroundings? Looking at socioeconomic, what did you observe?
Yeah, I was just immediately struck by the beauty of the area. I think this is part of the country that people have often overlooked, of not seeing the beauty of rural Alabama, and you don't see it enough on film or in photographs, but I felt very lucky to be able to show off that beauty and the sunsets and sunrises and everything. But I was also just struck by the joy of people of having wonderful homes or backyards, that they have barbecues or gardens or farms, and just such a feeling of community that I was lucky to be embraced by as well. But as you get closer to the landfill, I think you get this feeling of this darkness, or just people are trying to move as far away from the landfill as possible. But there's a lot of people also just stuck there that don't have the ability to sell their land or move away. So it's kind of this contrast between a beautiful community that can be outside a lot and enjoy the outdoors, as well as always being almost in the shadows of this mountain of coal ash and this landfill close by. So I tried my best to balance that, both joy and sadness as well, with visuals and storytelling. But yeah, that definitely exists there from my perspective.
I thought you did an excellent job of capturing both the plight of the people and the joy of the people. That end scene, and Mr. Eaton, you can speak more on it, but that end scene and looking at Black joy, there's something about Black joy, man, that is just, I don't even know how to describe it. We lock into it, especially in the worst of times. We find a way to find joy, and to look at the spirituality of the people that you were recording, as well as the togetherness and the sense of community that you were experiencing. Mr. Eaton, can you speak more about that sense of community with your community as well as with Black Belt citizens?
Sure. You know, most people probably don't even know where Uniontown is. Uniontown is basically 80 miles west of Montgomery, and it's sitting about in the middle of Selma, Alabama, and Demopolis. Little small community, about 2,200 people in the community, predominantly Black community, maybe 90–95% are Black. It's a joy when they can come together and celebrate, especially something as important as this. It's being in politics and going out to get people to vote is one thing, but to go out and be a victory in it, that's a total different thing. When you want change, you have to take that extra additional step to make it happen. And the people actually stepped up to the plate and got done what needed to be done. My intention is not to let them down, but I do know we have learned through our struggles that the election doesn't mean that that person holds all the cards. They hold the cards for as long as their term, but the people is the boss. You can make a change at the end of any term and let people know that you don't just get to do what you want to do over and over and over again, regardless of how other people feel.
Mr. Eden, if there was one thing that you wanted people to know about Uniontown, what would that be?
Uniontown is, I'll speak of the worst first, and that's, we have a lot of problems. We're living in poverty. We are having problems with bringing companies in, jobs in to actually help build the community. But it's one thing that I enjoy. Basically, most of my life was spent in Birmingham. I met my wife, and that's where I've been since I met her. This is a great place to live if we had the support from the agencies that actually is supposed to protect the environment and protect the people. This would be a wonderful place to live, and you have room and time to actually put your energy toward growing and toward making this a better place rather than fighting issues that should have been taken care of on the other end, like on ADEM, EPA, and all these different agencies. This is, I say it's a great place to live. This is where I pretty much settled down and tried to reach all my dreams.
Well, it seems like you're still reaching them.
I'm forced.
Understood. Listen, we have issues, and a lot of the issues can be narrowed down to the way that we consume and produce energy. When it comes down to it, coal ash is the byproduct of the energy that we consume.
Yes.
It's the byproduct of that production of the energy that we consume. In the South, we don't necessarily have rule and say so over where we get our energy sources from. For a company to be able to move 400 tons of 4 million tons of poison into your community, and we can't choose not to have do business with that company, something's wrong with that. That has stripped us of our voice. Alabama Interfaith Power and Light is trying and is aimed to answer and hold those people accountable, to answer the question of why environmental injustice, energy injustice exists. Why aren't we good stewards over what has been created? But secondly, we are here to hold those people accountable who are the perpetrators of the violence that we experience via our energy and our environment. We would love to partner with each and every one of you all on the program that we call We Rise. It's weatherizing every resident in the Southeast. Here in Alabama, we have some of the lowest energy rates in the nation, but some of the highest energy bills. And it's simply because we have homes, such as homes that are in Mr. Eden's community, that are older homes that aren't properly sealed up. And so they leak air, and we spend more money and more energy warming and cooling the outside than we do the inside. As a result, we continue to have to produce more and more energy, and we get mountains of poison in communities such as Uniontown or North Birmingham, or even other communities that are suffering as well. We have an opportunity to do something about it by raising our voices and by practically doing implementation products, such as doing weatherization for communities that are vulnerable, such as a Uniontown, but also being able to argue for those policies that protect people and planet. We've dropped a link about We Rise. We've also dropped a link on our website. We've dropped a link to Energizing the South for energy justice. We would love for you all to partner with us and be a part of what we're doing with We Rise. We'd love to work with your communities of faith to implement, do ministry, implementation ministry with weatherization. Please feel free to get in touch with us. Not only does weatherization or sealing homes protect people's energy bills or help them to lower their energy bills, but it also helps to protect you from outside contaminants. So a Uniontown could benefit from weatherization because it would help them to keep that coal ash out of their homes. You won't have as much because your homes are sealed up better. We'd love to work with you all to make that happen. I want to thank you all. I want to thank you, Mr. Eaton. I want to thank you, Mr. Fraser, for being with us. I also wanted to see if there was any questions or any comments that our audience might have right now.
And while y'all are thinking of questions, also don't forget blackbeltcitizens.org is the group that Benjamin Eaton and Fraser mentioned in the film. So to help Black Belt citizens, go to blackbeltcitizens.org.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, we are currently working on our becoming incorporated, but anytime we have a physical sponsor, so we can work that out.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Reverend, I'd like to say something. I'm June from Clean Air, Carolina, and we have a couple of us from Charlotte, since I passed around your invitation. So I just want to say thank you for sending that. Thank you for all the work you're doing. I've known Michael from GAS for a number of years. We collaborate and share information, but thank you, Fraser, for making the film and telling the story of injustice, continued injustice. I just want to tell a little irony about this story. In 2002, the North Carolina legislature passed a law called the Clean Smokestacks Act. And the goal was to require the two utilities at the time to put scrubbers on the coal plants to reduce the pollution that got into the air. And when you put scrubbers on the coal plants, it means there's more coal ash because the emissions, not as many emissions go up. So it still is there. It's still a pollutant. It just goes into coal ash. And in that law, there was a clause for that allowed our Attorney General, Roy Cooper, he's now our governor, to file a nuisance lawsuit against Tennessee Valley Authority, which is where the coal ash in your community came from. And he filed a lawsuit, and they had to clean up a lot of their coal plants, which means they had more coal ash. And then it ends up in Alabama. And I just can't help but see the irony, because even if you try to do good and you try to clean up fossil fuels, there is no cleanup, right? There's nothing, you can never clean it up. It's always going to be somewhere. So I just wanted to mention that story. And then the other thing, and we've, you know, in North Carolina, we've organized the medical community to speak out about air pollution and climate change. And I'm curious about the health department in your county, if they had, if, you know, if I've been looking at different websites and it says, you know, you've been working with universities and other groups, and the whole Title VI claim and all that. But did the health department or any doctors come out and speak out about this?
Well, no doctors came out to speak out about this, against it, or for it, whichever. But we have had support from universities, from hospitals such as UAB. They have been down a number of times to actually give us some type of support health-wise. And we have had a lot of different universities that actually provided some type of support. But there isn't anyone that actually stood up and said that this is causing such and such problem. We have an abundance of illnesses in this area, but no one is actually tying it to a specific issue. So it leaves you wondering, well, some of the problems that we have, lead causes it, arsenic causes it, aluminum, chromium, it causes it. All these items, all these elements are in the coal ash. So is it airborne? Yes, it's airborne because it has an odor that people complain about all the time. But we have requested some type of medical report to help give us a better idea of where we are health-wise. But we can't achieve that report. We are not getting that information. They're not offering it to us, and they're not giving it to us when we do a request.
Yeah. Have you approached the CDC at all? Because we have a situation in Charlotte where there's a lot of cases of ocular cancer, like eye cancer, and it's right near a coal power plant, you know, and the coal ash, and there's a lake there and there's water.
Yeah.
And I think that the CDC was doing some investigation there, but I know it's hard in your own state to always find, you know.
Well, like I say, that we have had enormous amount of support, and I have to go back to Earth Justice. They have really been standing there for us, and giving us what we want. So trying to think of all the different places that we have gone, you know, at some point you get tired of striking out. But you have to have the attitude that it's like I said in the movie, failure is not an option. We just have to keep going, keep pushing.
Yeah.
And maybe one day we will strike it rich.
Well,
Just
best
to
of luck.
enjoy. Thank you.
I have Marilyn Finklin and then Alicia Jenkins. And then Nicole Gaines.
Okay, this is actually Regina Finklin, wanting to ask Mr. Eaton 2 questions. For general information, Mr. Eaton, I spent 2 weeks every summer of my younger life visiting Uniontown, Alabama from Mobile, Alabama. And I believe my cousin still owns the barber shop there, Eddie Brooks.
That's my buddy.
And I believe he was in the film, Cutting Hair. I have asked, when we were young, we were made to come to Uniontown, and it was one of the happiest times of our life. because Uniontown is a beautiful area. And my question is, are you as the governing body needing funds to directly address anything to help get the with getting information from or to the EPA is something that people like me can help you fund it or fund it through Reverend Malcolm. So that's my question.
Well, you know, we operated for years without any funds at all before we actually start getting support from different funders and founders. We're not where we want to be in order to be able to actually address certain things as it comes. Being non-profit is, you know, it's sort of one of those things where we have to make it not that important for what you do, but the results is it's important to do what you do. I don't know if that make any sense or not. With money, it means a lot. It means a lot to you.
I will get with Reverend Malcolm and get your information. Okay. And so my family and I can talk to you and see what it is you need.
Yes, ma'am.
And I can work with the rest of my family.
Thank you.
And
I'll
Eddie
pass
Brooks,
your
tell
number
him I
on.
say hello. Mop.
I'm sorry, say that again, Ms. Fink.
I wanted Mr. Eaton, if he sees my cousin, Eddie Brooks, he'll know that I'm his cousin because his nickname is Mop.
Thank you for that information.
And my name is Jeannie to him. Jeannie.
Okay.
Thank you. Mom Finkel, and I'll give you Mr. Eaton's number if that's okay with you, Mr. Eden.
Yes.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. And I'd appreciate it if he doesn't mind us communicating.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, Reverend Malcolm.
Not a problem. I had Alicia Jenkins and then Nicole Gaines.
Hi, my name's Alicia Jenkins. Not Alicia. No, it's okay. I have one statement, it's a brief one, and then a question. So I have family in Alabama as well on my mother's side, but we are Haitian Alabama, Haitians in Alabama. And I experienced going to Alabama as a child. So when I saw this film, I was very moved by that. So my question is to, I think, Benjamin?
Yes.
And to the film director, have any of you ever thought about, or are any of you aware of the reparations movement that's occurring in the United States at this moment? And if so, do you support that? And do you feel that Black people who descend from slavery in this country, particularly those of us who live in the South, I mean, I don't live in the South, I live in Connecticut, but like that's part of the reason why poverty is existing in the Black Belt, because of the land that was stolen and the money that was stolen from the people who descend from slavery, and they never got the 40 acres and a mule. Do you guys support the idea of reparations to fix environmental racism and the like? So yeah, that's my question.
Okay. Well, I am not too familiar with that movement, but I do know that there is racism and there is suppression of our race. It shows in many different ways. I am a victim of it, which I believe there's no Black person who can actually say they are not victims of it. I can give you an example, just the idea of me wanting to build my own home. I am the contractor but it was difficult for me to get a loan. And I come to the conclusion that it was because I was Black. When I received an application to fill out, and across that application, it didn't dawn on me, but across the top of that application, it was green, a green bar. But when I returned that application, they rejected it and said I had the wrong application. Why? Or what was wrong about it? Is it outdated? I didn't know. So they give me another application, and as I fill that application out, I noticed this is the same application that I just filled out because I made a copy of the old one. The difference is this application had a black bar across the top. So are they distinguishing who's who by simply giving a certain application? So yes, ma'am, it is very much alive. I don't know if I answered your question or not, but
Yes, you did. And what this shows is that it's important to make films like this about Black American life, because America likes to think we don't exist, and this film proves that we do. So
yes,
thank you for your story.
You're welcome. We do exist. And I guess that's one of our stance at this moment in this area, across the Black Belt, wherever. You know, Dr. King once said, "Unjust anywhere is unjust everywhere." I believe that.
Did you still want Mr. Fraser to answer
Yes,
that?
please.
Okay.
Yes, please.
I'm up. Yeah, I'm familiar with the reparations movement. There's still a lot more I need to learn and become an active member pushing forward that movement instead of just giving a thumbs up. But I think there's just such a legacy of slavery that's inescapable throughout our whole country, our world, but especially in the South. And I think you then see the South also as a dumping ground for so many of these toxic chemicals. So I think one way to start to treat the problem is to reimburse people financially that are descendants of slaves. But it also seems to be a joint effort that is going to must involve the environmental movement as well, because a lot of those people are being affected by chemicals in the modern day. So my opinion feels somewhat irrelevant on this. I'm still formulating my opinion, but anything that we can do to forward that step towards equality, particularly within the environment, because Black and brown bodies are still disproportionately affected by these environmental disasters and catastrophes like coal ash. So anything to move the needle forward, including reparations, I support.
And lastly, Ms. Nicole Gaines.
Okay, thank you for having me on this discussion. I'll be very, very quick. I'm usually a lot of wordy. I'm Nicole Gaines, and June and Rosa. Rosa is my colleague. I am the chair here of the Sierra Club in North Carolina. We are very familiar with fighting conglomerate monopolizing companies in their coal ash dumping in communities of color and poor and rural communities. We are very familiar with that fight. Duke Energy, the monopolizing company that did the harm to our companies, we've been fighting for years. This is a years-long fight. Finally got them to pay up for their coal ash dump into our river, Dan River, just this year. $6.8 million, but it took a lot of hands connected together. And that's what I implore this community to do. I love this town. I also, as Alicia, and my name is Alicia as well, I just don't call it Alicia. I am from Birmingham, Alabama. My family are the Aces. out of Birmingham. My mother's laid to rest there. Beautiful countryside. And when Rosa gave me the opportunity to see this film and to be here, I jumped at the chance because this is what you're talking about. I am so glad that Alabama, I'm involved with the North Carolina Interfaith Power and Light here with Suzanne Tuttle and some of those folks. And Michael, you're shaking your head. We've got some good teamwork here. Clean Air Carolina, you have to have powerhouses like them. NC Warren, look them up, ncwarren.org. I would implore you, and I will do this for my chapter, my director, is to check with the Sierra Club, because if we hadn't gotten involved with our Attorney General, Josh Stein, he gave us a lot of credit in making those moves, but the money is there. Grassroots, the money is in these big greens, and we're trying to do right by our communities that are at risk, and the money is there. You just have to focus it. I've mentioned in the chat, I also belong with North Carolina Climate Collective, or the Climate Justice Collective. We are a grassroots group, and we've been all over the country. Part of our organizers are women, and partnering up with Down East Coal Ash. I'm not quite sure if you heard of Bobby Jones and those folks who have fought long and hard against coal ash in the communities of Goldsboro. And Alabama, you're in. Don't treat Alabama like a dumping ground. I'm watching them because you guys have a terrible issue with wood pellets. They're tearing down your forests. They're going into your communities. They're polluting your water, and they're thinking you're not organized. And you just have to get these coalitions together, and don't give up, Mr. Eaton. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of everybody on this call, because you know what has to be done. And it's a big deal to talk about reparations. I heard that Evanston, Illinois, has their county commissioners talking about reparations in the form of business investment, but there's a lot of restrictions on there. But they're the first actually city to even talk about reparations. I'd look into that article if I were you to see what that looks like. But in this instance, and environmental justice, social justice, look into your big greens and put them on the table. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
And that was a whole lot to say, Ms. Nicole, and we appreciate it. You got us fired up. Again, thank you, Mr. Eden. Thank you, Mr. Fraser. It is well past our time. I thank you all for being with us. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful job. Thank you. Thank you for your questions, as well as you all sticking with us. Please, please, please get in touch with Black Belt citizens. Get in touch with us. We will send out a follow-up email. We will send up a follow-up email with the links that we had in the chat, as well as a recording of the video itself, so that you all can have that. Thank you again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you all have a great evening.
You're welcome.